Hey guys, welcome back to Not Quite Homesteading, ESK Garden. Thank you for joining me on another garden adventure. I'm going to be sharing 5 plants that I don't intend to grow in my raised beds anymore. This is based on experiences that I've had growing these things multiple times, and I just wanted to share them with you guys and hopefully offer some insight around why and what the best growing medium I think is for those things. If this is your first time visiting the channel, welcome. If you're a gardening enthusiast, if you're someone that lives a good gardening journey, or if you're gardening yourself looking for community support, I hope that you'll stay a while, leave me a comment, let's engage and have some fun around this gardening thing. Part of doing this video just really kind of stemmed with my frustration from having to throw out a second crop of plants because of pest presence that kind of arise in the bed from watering and potentially overwatering, which is something that I know I tend to do probably a little more than I should. So the first crop that I will not be growing in my raised beds anymore are heading lettuces. The slug pressure around lettuces, especially during this season, is just too much for me. I also, with heading lettuces, can't seem to get the spacing right to where the plants are not stacked on top of one another. I can't seem to get the spacing right with the plants to where they have enough room to breathe and they're able to form a full head the way they're supposed to. Now that is starting from direct seeding. I will be starting my lettuces, particularly heading lettuces, from seeds, like in trays, going forward. So as of right now, I think the best medium for me to grow heading lettuces in will be grow bags or containers. And I think with that, I can avoid some of the challenges that I've been having with slug pressure. The second crop I will not be growing in my raised beds anymore are turnips. Turnip greens take up way too much room and they are a haven for bugs. I grew turnips as a test for the first time this spring, and when I pulled them, yes, they bulbed nicely, but for what you get out of the tuber itself compared to the amount of green that is attached to each of the root vegetables, I think it's just not worth taking up that amount of space in your bed. The third crop I will not be growing in my raised beds anymore are bunching onions. If you know anything about bunching onions, and if you've grown them in any medium, you know that they are one of the hardest plants to kill. The root systems of bunching onions are nearly impossible to remove from your growing source, and it makes crop changeover extremely difficult, and it makes turning over the bed extremely difficult. And if you allow them to go to seed, you'll be growing green onions everywhere. So I have found that it is best to grow bunching onions in a controlled medium that actually, even a really small container, unless you're someone that just needs a ton of bunching onions, a small container will really suffice. The fourth crop is mustard greens. And I say mustard greens as an edible crop. Mustard greens grow incredibly large trunks and they take up way too much space, in my opinion. Now, the type of mustard green that I've grown, I know is probably different than some of the ones that you may be growing or you may have seen where they don't get as big. But if you do allow the leaves to mature, the leaves also get really, really big. I found that they take up way too much space for what you get off the plant in terms of volume, and then they are also hard to remove. In the warmer months, they harbor pests. They attract things like aphids as well as worms, which make them a good trap crop, but not a good edible crop to plant in your raised beds. So I would say if you are going to plant mustard in your raised beds, plant with caution. And the fifth crop that I will not grow in my raised beds anymore is arugula. Arugula gets lost very easily behind other plants, and if not consistently harvested, or if the temperatures get too warm, it goes to seed very quickly. It is a crop to me that's grown best in containers where it can be easily harvested and it can be easily moved if the temperatures should get too warm for it on a few days consecutively. I would recommend for everything except the turnips, even a 2-gallon container will grow those things very well. The turnips, obviously you want to grow in something like a 5 or 10-gallon grow bag, but those are all the things that I think should be grown in some sort of container, and we should really keep out of raised beds. So let me know if you agree, if you disagree, or if there are other crops that you guys think do better in containers or are more worthwhile growing in containers than in a raised bed. I appreciate you guys spending time with me today in the garden. Let's keep learning, sowing, and growing together, friends, until our next garden update. Bye!